Here, we examine three separate industrial fatalities. One involving a furnace and molten iron. Another involving a tank of sulfuric acid. Different locations. Different industries. But the same haunting question. Were these deaths preventable? This is the story of the Phillips 66 Bayway facility incident in Linden, New Jersey. What happened, when it happened, and what investigators uncovered afterward. On January 19, 2026, authorities were notified of a fatal industrial accident at the Bayway chemical plant in Linden. A 71-year-old subcontractor working on site fell into a large industrial container, a vessel capable of holding thousands of gallons of mineral oil, a petroleum-based substance used in industrial processes. Emergency responders were called immediately. Despite rescue efforts, the worker was pronounced dead at the scene. Officials later confirmed there was no explosion, no fire, and no chemical release affecting the public. But that did little to lessen the gravity of what had occurred. One worker did not go home that day. Local police in Linden secured the area as emergency crews worked inside the plant. Operations in the affected section were halted. The company involved issued a statement expressing condolences to the worker's family and stating that safety was a top priority, a familiar phrase often heard after industrial fatalities. But condolences alone do not answer the most important question. How did this happen? Within hours, multiple investigations were launched. The Linden Police Department began an initial investigation to document the circumstances surrounding the death, focusing on whether foul play was involved and confirming the incident was accidental. These investigations often take months, not days, because they involve interviews with workers and supervisors, review of maintenance records, examination of safety procedures, and physical inspection of the equipment involved. If violations are found, OSHA can issue citations, fines, or mandated safety changes. As of now, the full findings of the investigation have not been publicly released. But one fact is already clear. On January 19, 2026, at the Phillips 66 Bayway facility in Linden, New Jersey, a life was lost during what should have been a routine workday. And until every question is answered, this story is not over. This incident occurred at an industrial facility within the Bayway complex, a heavily industrialized area known for furnace and chemical operations. These environments involve extreme heat, molten materials, and narrow margins for error. On the day of the incident, operations appeared normal. No shutdowns, no warnings. Just another workday. According to OSHA and the county coroner, the victim was Steve Dierkes, a worker from Peoria. He was removing a sample of iron from a furnace, a task that is part of routine quality and process checks. During this procedure, Dierkes lost his footing and fell into an 11-foot deep melting pot containing molten material. Emergency responders were called immediately, but conditions inside an active furnace offer no chance of survival. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The county coroner, Jamie Hardwood, confirmed the victim's identity, the cause of death as an industrial accident. There was no explosion, no fire, no public hazard, just a fatal fall during a routine industrial task. OSHA launched a formal investigation focusing on fall protection around the furnace, guardrails, and physical barriers, work positioning and access design training, and safety procedures. These investigations can take months and may result in citations, fines, or mandatory changes, not just for one facility, but for similar operations nationwide. On the morning of March 23, 2005, more than 1,800 workers arrived for their shift at the BP Texas City refinery in Texas. It was supposed to be routine, a standard startup, another ordinary workday. No one expected that within minutes, 15 people would lose their lives. The Texas City refinery was one of the largest in the United States. That night, operators were restarting a unit used to refine gasoline, a process known to be one of the most dangerous phases in refinery operations. Fatigue was common. Safety systems were outdated, and alarms that should have warned workers were either disabled or ignored. Inside the unit stood a blowdown drum, a vertical vessel designed to release excess pressure. But during the startup, something went wrong. The tower was overfilled. Liquid hydrocarbons surged into the blowdown drum, overwhelming it. Instead of being safely burned off, flammable vapors were released directly into the open air. A dense cloud of gasoline vapor began spreading silently across the refinery grounds. Workers nearby had no warning. No alarm sounded. No evacuation was ordered. At approximately 1:20 a.m., the vapor cloud found an ignition source. The explosion was massive. Office trailers were destroyed instantly. Workers inside were killed where they sat. Windows shattered miles away as fire and debris tore through the site. 15 workers never made it home. More than 180 others were injured, many with burns and lifelong trauma. Emergency responders rushed in, battling fires and chaos as the refinery was shut down and turned into a crime scene. Soon, federal investigators arrived. What they uncovered was deeply troubling. Investigators found that BP had ignored repeated safety warnings. Outdated equipment remained in use. Cost-cutting had taken priority over worker protection. The U.S. Chemical Safety Board concluded that this was not the result of a single mistake. It was a systemic failure, a disaster years in the making. BP was later fined more than $21 million, one of the largest OSHA penalties at the time. But for the families of the victims, no fine could replace what was lost. Industrial disasters don't happen in seconds. They are built slowly, through complacency, pressure, and ignored warnings. Every safety rule exists for a reason, and behind each one is a story like this. If these stories matter to you, subscribe, because remembering them might help prevent the next one.